fuck. This thing's not on the right bloody channel. Oh, cunt. Fuck off, man. I just blew away my eardrums just fucking turning on these headphones. So this is a great start to the day. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm not going to pretend I'm having one so far. Poor old Ryan. He had to get here even earlier than me. Anyway, we're on. We're ready to go. We had Uncancelled last night. Lots and lots of fun. You got some volume there?
There we go. I was going to say, I was going to be like Eminem, just turn up the headphones.
Oh, my God. Anyway, so not the greatest start to anybody's day this Friday, but it is a short week and we mustn't complain too much. And although this is a normal weekend, next week again is a normal week.
Yes.
So it's a normal 5 days. I don't know how the hell we're going to handle that. It's going to feel very weird.
It's been 3 weeks of 4 days. It's been absolutely ridiculous.
We got another 2 coming up.
Another 2?
2 short weeks coming up, but... Next week's normal.
Is there any other country in the world that has this many public holidays?
Yeah. I mean, the French basically have 2/3 of the year off. They don't really work. The French don't really work at all. And now they're complaining. The whole reason, by the way, that the French were busy taking to the streets and protesting, you might have seen that. I mean, the French are always protesting. But they were especially unhappy the last few days. Do you know why?
No.
Because they raised the retirement age from, I think it was 63 to 65.
Oh, shit.
And the French are like, what? 2 more years? I don't want to work 2 more years. This is ridiculous. I refuse. So that's what they do. It's just unbelievable. All right, Adam says, yes, that was a start. Good morning, team. Oh, you didn't see my start. Ryan did. Put on my headphones. It was like an atomic bomb going on right in the middle of my brain. In fact, I probably got brain damage after that. Oh, poor old, it was Ben like a couple of weeks ago who sat here.
Yes.
For the whole first half hour he was here with us. His headphones were at like full volume and he didn't say anything. Yes. He just sat there taking it, which is unbelievable. Bantu says, great start to my Friday, angry yelling into the mic. Yeah, lucky you. You get to be a part of this. How exciting. What would you prefer?
Oh, man.
Hey, everybody. Good morning and welcome to your favorite show.
Yeah, tune into radio for that.
Yeah, there's lots of that shit going down. Here, you're going to get like,
Last night was pretty fun, though.
Yeah, did you enjoy it? What did you think?
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty good. I thought Prof was very interesting.
So I really thought I was going to have like an argument with her and we were going to get into the weeds about how, she's supporting students who are a bunch of lazy layabouts and all the rest of it. And I really had I had some kind of a combative agenda in my mind, even though I always leave the possibility that, the guest might end up being really charming and lovely.
Mm.
And luckily, I suppose that's what happened because I didn't need any of that. So easily 2-3 minutes in, I was like, okay, this is a different sort of interview. It's very cool, though. It's not boring by any means, but we talked very honestly about higher education. Mm-hmm. We talked a lot about her career. We talked about whether or not she received that 12 million rand payout from UCT. Mm-hmm. She was very funny about that. And the interview goes everywhere.
Because I even saw Pumi was getting ready. And I know when Pumi gets ready, right? I've seen her prepare for Burning Platform. She comes in ready to fight. But even Pumi last night was like, taken aback a bit. She
was Prof Mamokgethi was really, really relaxed.
Yeah.
And I was reading about her yesterday because if I prepare these things for too long in advance, I start going down the rabbit hole. Mm. And then you become so interested in the detail that actually the interview, and you only got an hour, right? So the interview is very narrow. And if you go into too much detail, you kind of lose the audience because they don't know all that stuff. And you start talking about things where you assume everybody knows stuff, and they don't. Mm. But she's really interesting, and I think it's going to be a good one. So stick around for that. And thank you again to all the very cool people who pitched up and were part of it last night for the recording. It was very, very cool to meet people who I hadn't met from the comments section. And it's, the comment section, I mean, they keep us alive, right?
Yeah.
I'm very rude about the comment section and I will continue to be, but they really are the most important people every day. Because if we did this show and there were like 3 or 4 people, even if it was just the YouTube 3 or 4. And, you know, like, this is a thing that I have to keep explaining to people too. The YouTube audience is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the total number of people who listen to the podcasts.
Yeah.
Because we are primarily, that's what we started doing. Remember, we only started doing this show on YouTube when lockdown happened.
Yeah.
It was always an audio show, and now it's a video show. So really, those people in the comment section have been, many of them from day one, parts of the family, sometimes the genitalia, sometimes the brains. Yeah.
But they also brought the same gas that they bring in the morning last night. Like, they had like a lot of questions. They weren't scared to ask them, which is great. You know, it's nice that everybody felt at home in our new place.
I've got to acknowledge something. I crowned Rebellious Ruth as the comment section chairperson.
Oh, did you?
She's now the boss of all the other comment section people. So I'm sorry, guys, whether you like it or not, you can take it up with Ruth. I have anointed her. That is my prerogative and my right. It's the Gareth Cliff show, so I decide everything. And I've made Rebellious Ruth the chairperson of the comment section. So if you've got any issues with that, take it up with her. And Ruth, I give you permission to ignore all of them.
And she got up early. Did you notice this?
She did. She's here this morning. And she asked a good question last night. I was rude about her voice. I said, because you couldn't get the microphone to her. I said, it's okay. Your voice is so shrill and horrible. Everyone can hear you anyway. And she went, okay. And then she asked a question. So Ruth, we love you. Thank you. All right. Dogozo, one day you're going to come up here when you're not languishing on a beach in KwaZulu-Natal. So we'll get you up here too. All right. So Congo Chris was never the chairperson, KB, of the comment section. But he is.
He is funny, though.
Oh, no, he's terrific. And he says the comment section is the shambok wielding extremist militia of the show. Yeah. If anyone is ever going to be arrested among the people we know on this show, it'll be someone from the comment section.
Yeah.
It won't be staff. It won't be guests. It won't be, Pumi or Canthan. It won't be Lebang. It won't be you, Ryan. You're a mostly law-abiding citizen.
I got pulled over last night.
Oh, God. Really?
I did. But I didn't drink last night, so I was good. But
did they check you?
No, but he came to me and he looked at me like this and he was like, "Sir, who is your insurance?" And I was like, "Shit,
who's your insurance?"
Yeah.
Is that what they ask now?
Yeah, that's what he said. And I was like, "Shit, I know I was with Alexander Forbes, but I might have switched. I can't." So I just said Alexander Forbes, and he's like, "You need to replace your windscreen."
Please don't say anything because you know what you've just done.
What have I done?
Now you're going to get like 20 calls today from insurance companies trying to be your insurance company.
Oh, God.
Ryan, you should have shut up about that. You should have just said, they asked me a question and I didn't know the answer.
I was like, but that's an odd question. I've never been asked that kind of question from a cop before. And I've had this crack in my windscreen for a bit because a stone hit it and it just kind of ran.
No. Everybody. And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You are on the West Rand where most of the roads are made of stones. So you're screwed anyway. Your windscreen it's going to last a week and then you're going to have to replace it again. I'm surprised you even have insurance.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people complaining, but I see, some have accepted. Dogoza says, all hail Queen Rebellious Ruth. David says, congrats, Ruth. Tatrif says, now I feel so special. Ancient Ether says, Rebellious Ruth, great start to your Jewish New Year. Mo Dollars says, that's not fair. I've been on this shit when it started. Where? That's all I have to say is where? She's the boss. Bagabantu, the intern, is back. Hey, Bagabantu, we need to talk to you, dude.
Yeah.
We need to get you back on the show. So I don't know where you've been, but we need you. We need to hear from you. So we're going to get that son of a bitch back on the show soon. Hanging out with Jay says, okay, Rebellious Ruth, fine. But there's a middle finger being raised there. So Jay, I don't know what you mean. How dare you autocratically promote Ruth? This is bullshit, says Carl DeSantos, who's also vying for top spot.
Carl, why didn't you come last night?
Don't even ask. It is not your decision. Let me remind you, this is not a democracy. I do not care if anybody approves of my appointment of Ruth as chairperson of the comments section. She is. And she is in charge, and you cannot fight this extraordinary autocratic power I have. I'm like the chairman G of the show.
I saw you had a couple of gifts last night as well.
Yeah, you got one too.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rebellious Ruth for that.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
see, now people are going to think she bribed her way to the top.
Oh, no. It's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all you really have to do is bring us gifts. No. That was, in fact, I had already crowned her as Rebellious Ruth chairperson of the comment section before she gave us anything. So
she was the first one here.
She was. You see, I like that. So lots and lots of comments here about all of this. You guys fight it out among yourselves. Mo Dollar says, Gareth, a.k.a. Becky Klele. Now, we were talking yesterday with Pumi about the unbelievable performance, and I think it's fair to call it a performance that was given by Glynis Breitenbach in Parliament. A lot of people were talking about that, but I have to say she was even more on fire yesterday. I didn't see any of it because we were busy here and we were working and all the rest of it, but I did see some clips last night when I got home.
Is that the one where Becky Taylor responded?
Yeah, well,
sort of.
He responds by saying he's not going to respond. Oh, and I'm not going to respond like that. It's almost like he's got a mouthful of buffalo balls. He is such a slow adult. There's just no other way to put it. I can't believe we've got a guy who's that useless in charge of something as important to South Africans as their security. Anyway, so, Glynis is just like, she is the kind of person, I reckon if I had to choose, like, who to have an argument with, she would be the last person.
Yeah.
I would argue with everyone else in South African public life before I'd argue with her. And I think that she's the kind of person who, if she won the argument, part of the conditions would be that she would allow her dogs to eat you.
Yeah.
Like if she wins, right, fine. She'd say, fine. But then if I win, my dogs eat you.
Can I tell you what?
You just have to accept it.
She reminds me a lot of when I was in primary school, we had our deputy head principal.
They're always the scariest, right?
Oh, so, because the principal, I liked him, but he didn't have
like
much
the front.
Yeah,
they're the front-facing people, and they have to handle like parents' evenings and be at the door when important things happen. And, they're like the ultimate kind of the face of the school.
Exactly.
But the deputy head, terrifying. We had a little man. He could run under tables without bending his knees. He was always fuming. He looked like a wild bush pig. Like you'd be sitting in, you'd be loitering outside the classroom while you were meant to be in class or something like that. He knew. I think he had trackers on everybody. I don't know how this motherfucker knew. He could smell like any trouble in the school.
Right.
And then he'd come tearing around the corner. It was because he was too fast and short. Gravity had very little hold on him because he was so short. And he'd come tearing around the corner and you'd be finished. He'd have you in his tusks before you even knew what was going on. And then you were in trouble. Yeah, he was a seriously disciplinarian guy.
Yeah.
Took no nonsense.
We had Jeffro Base.
Oh, Jesus. And she sounds heavy.
Yeah, she was scary. No
Jeffro Base.
Jeffro Base. I don't even know where she is. I haven't thought about her in a while. But
did you pick a child up and hold them up against the wall like a Mortal Kombat character?
I mean, she might as well have, because we used to have like all these weird games in school where we would it sounds so stupid, but we had this thing called calf season, and then what you do is you'd go slap someone behind their calf if you wore shorts. And
just remember, everybody, you went to school on the West Rand. This is what passes for
Velties.
Veltevreden Park. So this passes as a very quality part of the education in Veltevreden Park. This is hugely important. People who didn't do this in Veltevreden Park, they usually just get tied to the gates at the front of the house and left out there in the sun for most of the day. So, all right, what happens with calf season?
So basically, you slap someone behind their calf, just behind the knee, kind of thing.
Very important.
And then you ran off.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget, she found out about this game and she called us in and smacked all of us behind our knees.
Well, I'm sure.
To stop the game.
Because she quite enjoyed inflicting pain.
I don't know.
I'm sure she did.
Everyone was just like quiet whenever she walked
That was
in.
it was humiliating.
Yes. And so when I looked at Breitenbach yesterday, I was like, damn, that sure might be like that fear that was
Can I tell you, I've seen all the comments, and it's amazing to me. Black and white South Africans, Black Twitter is they love her, which is the weirdest thing, because Black Twitter, obviously, most of the people on Black Twitter have very bad parents and come from terrible homes and are still very bitter about that. They spend most of their time hating each other on Black Twitter because their dads aren't with their moms and whatever.
Right.
And this is just a fact. You don't have to be angry with me. It just is. And then they see Glynis, and she represents the kind of family discipline that is probably lacking in a lot of these people's lives. And I'll tell you, it's not just Black Twitter. This country needs a disciplinarian mom like that. She is what we need. And I remember not so long ago when she was fighting with the NPA to hold on to her job. She was the Deputy Director of National Prosecutions. Now, wouldn't we have benefited enormously if she was made National Director of Public Prosecutions instead of that absolute waste of space, Shamila Batoy? I mean, Shamila Batoy just walked into the room and nobody noticed. Did you notice? No. She's sitting right next to me here.
To be honest, I actually haven't heard that name before.
Right, so. Exactly. No, you haven't missed anything. Anyway, so, I mean, this is the person. And Glynis would have been phenomenal. But instead, they fucked her around so much, because I know Glynis. I've met her before. They messed her around so much that she thought, fine, I'll go into the DA. And she did. And the DA's win is South Africa's loss.
Yeah.
She should be not the Minister of Justice or Minister of Police. She should be the Director of Prosecution. She should have her own, like I have autonomy on the show to appoint Rebellious Ruth. Glynis is the kind of person who needs complete autonomy and a whole lot of funding, and she should just go after anyone and everyone who she thinks is a crook. And God forbid you should be in her sights. Everyone should be shitting themselves like you shat yourself for the deputy principal. That's what we need in this country. There is no accountability, and everyone here knows it.
I was just thinking, if she was in, when they have Parliament, can you imagine the EFF trying to like fuck her around?
No.
There's no way.
No,
because they play that guy.
I'll tell you something.
I forget who that guy is.
Glynis.
They play him.
I would put her in. I think she could take on MMA fighters and win. That's what I reckon. She would be fine against them. She was spot on, says Congo Chris, when she said the police should hang their heads in shame. But I wouldn't stop there. The Thabo Bester saga is a scathing statement on the failures of the ANC. It is. It absolutely is. And I'm so glad that Lebang was the one who first told me about this story as it broke.
Yes.
And it's an example. And obviously, it's a very, very sad example. And it's pathetic that in a country like ours, we need to wait for something like that to happen before we can start to deal with these issues. But I'm impressed that it's happening. Dogoza says his deputy principal, Mr. Futi, was also my rugby coach. Really cool dude, but demanded respect.
Now you see, that's an awkward situation, because now you have to be extra respectful, especially because if it's your rugby coach. Then there's no stuffing around.
Glynis is such an old lady name, says Carl. Have you ever met a little girl called Glynis? No. But you don't mess with someone called Glynis.
We should talk to her. I mean, if she want to come.
I've given Dory a number, so we're going to hopefully get her on in the next few days. We, as the Shambok party, says Congo Chris, invite Glynis to be the deputy president of our party. I think she's a little busy for that, but we'll see what we can do. Please don't mention MMA, says Ricky. Without Ben being present, you'll still F it up somehow. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably right. Slippery Pickle says, famous mama, you met my mom. She taught there. Oh, God, it's an internal conversation. I don't care about that. Anyway,
I'm even seeing some games that people used to play at school. I see Congo Chris up there says they used to yank people's ties on a Friday. So then when they're not so tight that you couldn't.
People think that when you leave high school, you'll leave with a good rounded education. You'll be able to take on work you'll be a meaningful, useful member of society.
Respectful.
Yeah. All we do, I mean, this is the state of education, right? And here we were last night talking to the former vice chancellor of UCT, which you can argue, but I think, UCT is one of the best, if not the best, university in South Africa.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, she was talking seriously about education last night. And then we are here this morning talking about playing these dumb games where you pull people's tires and you flick them behind their knees. And this is what people really did at school. While we're all meant to be studying and being useful, we're totally fucking around the whole time, right?
Yeah. We even had another game in high school where it was called the gentleman's game. And then you had to hold your hands out like this. And then, or you'd like do some sort of pattern going around.
Were you at school at Kampstaldraad? Is it?
No, I was actually, my high school was in, I used to drive an hour to school every day. It was just by Cresta. It was on the border of Windsor.
And this took you an hour?
It took me an hour to get to school every day, yeah.
Yes, sis.
I had to leave at like
God bless
6.
your parents, hey?
Yeah.
Putting you through school. I'd have just given up. I'd have said, Ryan, stay at home and work.
Should have seen when I was
Clean
late
the
for
windows.
projects. I was like, I had to rush home, do projects, rush back.
Oh man, no. Well, my poor mother. It took us about 40 minutes to get into school, and then she'd have to drive 40 minutes back home.
Oh,
and in the afternoons, she'd have to come and fetch us 40 minutes back. So, she did that for probably 12, 15 years.
Yeah, same with
and that meant that if one of us had sport or something after school, the rest of us just had to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So we would just sit in the car. I mean, for hours and hours, we'd sit in that car. And, you do your homework in the car.
Yeah.
You'd find ways of entertaining yourself. It was, looking back, it wasn't so horrible. It wasn't the worst thing ever. I know that there are people who have to catch like 5 different taxis to get to school in, South Africa of 2023. And I know that there's some people who don't have transport to school, have to walk.
Yeah.
But it was, it was like, I actually think it was really good to spend that much time with your brothers and sisters or your mom.
Yeah.
Well, always your mom because she was driving the car. None of us could. But your brothers and sisters.
Mm.
And you kind of realize also that it's not all about you, which is an important thing that a lot of kids, I don't think, realize especially if they are very, very spoiled and the mom has someone to help her, like there's someone who fetches the kids or whatever. And this doesn't happen often, but I think there are probably some kids who grow up and they think everything's about them. Well, when I finish this, then I must be collected from school.
Mm.
We were like, your brother's got this to do. You're just going to have to sit 3 hours. 3 hours? We don't want to sit for 3 hours. Just get on with it.
But also school was fun back then. You could just do whatever
You think?
Yeah, you could just run around. And I used to make friends with the staff and just go hang, like, if I was late in
you're the kind of guy who would make friends with the staff. I had enemies in the staff because at primary school we had this teacher. She was such a pain in the backside, and both my sister and I we made her life hell. I think we traumatized her for life. But my brother was such a good kid; he was in between us.
Oh right.
And somehow he was the star.
Yeah.
So I went in first, and I remember she called my parents after like the second week of school. She's like, "There's a big problem with this child. Big problem." So my mother thought, "Oh God, what do you mean? He's got a learning disability. What has he done?" She's like, "No, he just does not. He's very dismissive of my instructions. He's rebellious for no good reason, and he's cheeky, and he thinks he's funny." I mean, I knew I was funny. She just had no sense of humor. And this woman, and she was just one of those people who's like, "Please write within the margins." And she'd come with a little ruler and like criticize your handwriting. And I said to her, no one's going to, have you seen doctors' handwriting?
Mm.
This is it. I don't know. I must have been in grade 3 or something. I said, "Have you ever seen a doctor's handwriting?" This teacher said, "Don't you backchat me." I said, "I'm trying to make an important point. We're here to learn, right?" Now she can't argue with that. She goes, "Yes, but you're being disruptive." So I go, Look, teacher, doctors can't write. They've got terrible handwriting. And you're spending at least 3/4 of our learning day wasting time where we curl the Y's or the H's. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, this is a stupid thing to do with your time. Well, I was sent out of school, out of class. I was sent to I was sent to the office.
Did your brother play sport?
My brother did everything.
You see,
and he did but he did everything well. He got straight A's. He listened to his teachers. He was just the model student. And when he came along, she used that as a contrast. She was like, you see what a shit Gareth was and what a perfect child his brother is. And then when my sister came, she was like me.
Oh,
so
nice.
we got the bitch back. We got her just after she thought she could let her guard down with my brother. And then my sister came in and made her cry. That's how bad she was. So yeah, I'm proud of all of
High
that.
school.
Hello, Simpiwe. I heard you guys had a bit of a rough start this morning.
Load shedding, winter.
Oh God.
Don't recommend that thing.
Okay, that's not a load start. That's not a bad start to your morning. That just means you are undisciplined and you couldn't figure shit out.
No, that means there's no alarm going off, so I'm all snugged up in my bed, and then
Can I tell you? Okay.
Khumulimo is at my door.
Everyone who's listening to us live this morning, you all wake up early. These are early riser people.
Yes.
These are people who have shit to do every day. So here's a little tip. Get yourself from one of those 5 Rand shops or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
An old ass alarm clock with that ding, 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 ding things
so
on
I
top.
have that. I
Because
just need batteries.
That thing, no, it doesn't need batteries. You get one's a wind up one.
Oh, the wind up.
No, so I have the but like it has that design. It just needs batteries, and then when the alarm goes off, you hear that.
Right.
Yeah, I need to invest in that because what a start.
No, it's the worst thing though when you wake up late and you just realize like I looked at my phone this morning and I went as I got out of bed, and I'm so glad it's Friday today. Thank God it's the weekend because we can have 2 days where we don't have to wake up super early.
Yeah.
But man, in winter,
It's tough. That's
So,
the thing.
how are you going to cope next week?
not good.
A whole 5-day week next week. A whole 5 days.
I
What are you
don't
gonna do?
know. I also don't know. But all I'm saying is it's a recipe for disaster. Winter, load sheddings in the morning. It's dark. It's dark outside. It's dark in the house. Yes.
Try having an old boarding school matron. We were talking about teachers who we were scared
Yes.
of because Glynis Breitenbach is like one of those
So
teachers.
Gareth, you're a bit like me,
You're
but
also
like,
badly behaved.
not really. I wouldn't say fully on like the level of like full on baddie, but I was that like learner in the class who passed really well. So the teachers can't use the fact that like I'm failing because I was like, I'm passing. But I'm also like, I don't care. Like, you can't tell me nothing. So I'm like in the back making a noise with all the
Right.
kids. And then teachers, oh, Gareth, you're busy talking. Is this why you're getting 40s? And then it comes to
Listen,
me and they can't say
Did
anything.
so my parents always took the teacher's side. It didn't matter what I'd done. If I tried to plead my case, oh no, but she's a grumpy old bitch. My parents would be like, do you want a smack? So I would get the good marks like you did. And then I'd say to them, look, you're logical people. This woman's fucked in the head. She's insane. She's a disciplinarian. She's a Nazi. And my parents go, she's not. She's perfectly reasonable. You don't concentrate. And she says that you are not living up to your potentials. I said, but look at the marks.
She doesn't respect my authority.
Oh, so I did get one threat from my grandmother, right? And she was
Oh.
like, you could do whatever you want. Well, it was actually 2. She was like, one thing, you don't fail. Yeah. There's no excuses to fail. So we're not failing. And 2, I don't want to ever get a call from your principal that you were badly behaved or else it'll be the end of your life. So
And you took that seriously.
I took that seriously. That's why to an extent I was the bad child. But then I also railed it back. I was like, oh, no, if this teacher is like, yeah, we're gonna get you. I was like, oh no, we did too much, man.
So I just want to throw this in quickly, Simpiwe. Congo Chris says, Simpiwe is babalas. My internal body clock kicks in 3 minutes before my first alarm every day.
Yeah.
Chris, that is an unbelievable superpower, and you are very lucky to have it. I sometimes have it. I find like I wake up just before my alarm on 3 out of 5 days, but those other 2.
Yeah, and don't you get that feeling of like, yeah, I beat you. Like, yes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm up early.
Yeah,
It's
no.
another day.
It's not worth celebrating. Nobody, unless you are a total psychopath, you do not wake up at 4 a.m. and go, yay.
Yeah.
Psychopath. If you wake up in the morning and you dance out of bed at 4 a.m., it's fine if the sun's up. Then I can understand a little bit of excitement and joy. But if you're waking up before the sun and you're happy to be up, you must go straight to mental hospital.
Yeah, that's true.
What did you want to say about some teacher thing?
I was
Because I interrupted you.
No, I was saying I saw this like thing on YouTube yesterday or the day before. It just popped up when I was watching, you know, like when a video finishes, and it was Jeremy Clarkson, like a thing on the life of Jeremy Clarkson.
The most amazing life in the world.
They actually interviewed one of his teachers.
And
he
wow.
got kicked out of
Jeremy
his school.
Clarkson's teachers are still alive.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow.
They interviewed one of his teachers, and they said, who would have thought that
his face? She's like,
his bad
Jeremy
behavior.
Clarkson's teachers are still alive. What did they say about him?
They said, who would have thought? Because he got kicked out of school. He got it was quite a
Prestigious
nice prestigious school. He actually got expelled.
Yes.
And they said, who would have thought that his shit ways of living actually got him to be one of the most famous people on
earth. So the
earth?
teachers were still defiant. They were like,
I love that.
They were like, his
no,
drinking,
consistency.
smoking, and use of women got him
use
to where,
of women.
Yeah, use.
He was
Consistency is key.
louche.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh, here's Ben.
Yeah, here's Ben.
Oh, Ben.
This
Australia, what the is that water in that horrible can?
this is my cue.
It looks like milk. It's water, right? It's very cold water.
All right, guys, I'm signing off.
All right. Cheers, Ryan.
Thanks for
Ryan,
jump
poor
on.
Ryan had to stand
Thank
in
you
this
so
morning.
much.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Ryan. Good to see you. Okay, here's Ben Karpinski.
Stayed
All right.
in for 5 minutes.
I
Where the
know.
hell does he live?
Well, Veltefreden Park, actually.
Well, I don't think we need to go that deep.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, Simpiwe and I were talking, and Ryan just told us this really interesting story that he saw a documentary on Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah.
And Clarkson's teachers were defiant about the fact that he was this really terrible student, and they still can't believe he would be successful. You kind of have to admire that these people,
that's
they're like, we
important.
were right,
Yes.
even though Clarkson's made lots of money.
You're the exception
Yeah.
to the rule. You're not the rule. You
Yeah.
are the exception. In fact, we don't know how he did it, but we don't condone his ways.
Yeah, but teachers just, especially those back in the day, should just know where their place is. They're basically keeping you off the streets and keeping you off crack. Don't tell me they're going to teach you things to become successful, rich, ambitious.
Well, you went to
Insightful.
school in Cape Town, so especially tick was a problem.
And I never touched it because I stayed in school. I went pretty much every day. Never once did I encounter tick.
Well, the whole reason this conversation came up is because we were talking about Glynis Breitenbach in Parliament, right?
Right.
And even if you didn't watch any of her grilling Becky Cele or Ronald Lamola or the guys from G4S Security, it was so funny. I got Jane an Uber last night on her way out, and she and I standing in the street, and a G4S Security thing goes past, and I'm like, those are the motherfuckers who let Thabo Bester out, right?
Yeah. And they're in charge of people's money.
I think we should all start a thing whenever we see G4S Security cars, we should go,
Because what?
those guys are crooks. Sorry.
And you know what's crazy?
If they were my security company, I'd fire them.
I'd actually want answers.
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
definitely.
yes,
like,
you're
let's
entitled
do
to answers. Yeah.
investigations
You
and
guys
stuff.
just work it up in South Africa.
800 million. I mean, I don't go to Bloemfontein often, but they were in charge of just that prison, 800 million a year.
Yeah.
And they let people fake their own death and get out. And then Glynis says, do you do lifestyle audits on your employees? And the guy goes, no, we don't do those. So she goes, sorry, just say that again. You don't do any lifestyle audits. The guy goes, no, we don't see the need. She goes, you have hardened criminals with access to resources, and your staff are above any kind of corruption?
Your staff who suddenly get 50 grand
Yeah.
in one day out of nowhere.
The staff who's a prison guard who's suddenly driving a Maserati. You're like, how
I was
did that
very
happen?
eager to come to the office today
No need
at
to-
6 o'clock. Very eager.
Yeah.
Even the few days that he wasn't
Sheesh.
drunk, he was at the office, keys in hand.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. Anyway, Jane just looked at this car and she goes, as the guy drives past.
And as we should with blue
Yeah.
light brigades and so much we see
I
on
wonder,
the roads.
like, this is G4S I've never noticed before. I mean, I knew that there was a company called G4S Security, but
That's
I'd never
like the
paid.
blue and red one, right?
Isn't
sort of
it white and red?
white and red, black and red, black and red and white.
they're
It's
all
one
the
of those.
same.
So, but they anyway. You see the name and you're like, those people.
Crooks.
This should be the end of that business.
Mm,
I wonder how many other businesses we
Yeah, but
see on a
never-
daily basis that are involved in nefarious and bullshit activities, and we let them get away with it up to now.
so many all the time, every day.
So
Because there is no accountability or shame. We keep going back to
No
this.
shame.
There's no shame.
bring back the shame.
So that Ronald Lamola guy or the guy with the hat, they just sit there because
Yeah,
they got no shame. So they'll just wait it out.
The guy with the hat.
And Glynis Breitenbach will never be the person in charge of things
Yeah.
because she's not part of this crew.
Someone says here, being very disparaging, for some reason I don't believe Ben regarding the tick thing. And Ancient Ether says he probably went to Fishhook High School.
No, I knew people went to Fishhook High School. I haven't touched Tuck. You can tell by my teeth and my sort of quite mellow manner.
I love that you get in here and 5 minutes after you've arrived, you're defending that you
Defending
didn't.
Tuck intake. Yeah.
This is a hell of a show.
Look, I take it in my stride. Huh?
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
at me.
And you were very calm about it. You
Come
were.
at me. Yeah, because I didn't take Tuck. If
Yeah.
I had taken Tuck, I would have started sweating initially. Absolutely paranoid.
Oh my God. All right. Famous Mama says, I fucking love that woman, Glynis. She reminds me of my mother. You must have grown up tough, Famous Mama.
See, but this is like, I think we can draw the line here, is that we need diversity and expertise in this country, not diversity and failures. And I think,
Damn.
look at the Joburg mayor, look at these clowns. There's just diversity and failure, which just keeps coming up and up and up.
Here's an interesting thing from Tracy. She says, does anyone remember Val Bartman, the rugby player?
Yes, he
Apparently
sponsored the beast and carried his boots in the advert.
He is the CEO of Fidelity Security. If his ruck and mauling was anything to go by, something like this would never fly in his company.
No, of course not.
Okay. Well, then those are the people to support. G4S. Apparently, they have subsidiaries in different countries around the world. You can imagine how rotten they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
To the core.
All right. So I don't want us to waste too much time. What do you, is there a fly?
There's wildlife in here, Gareth.
Is there a fly in the studio?
It's like a little mucky
Like, are
thing.
you the only one experiencing that?
I
Jasmine?
haven't-
Like,
have you-
Are you guys on tick? I've just got a jumpy, I mean,
I just arrived. that's fair.
overly
I just
inquisitive.
arrived.
Ben,
I'll be okay.
I think you must get off the tick, Ben. Sorry, Ben sent me this really amazing Twitter thread. And I don't even have Twitter, so it was a ball ache to get on here. But I did, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
It's about Maradona,
Ooh.
who, of course, he was my football hero in so many ways, because I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the first World Cup I watched was Italian 90. He was already in the decline, but he was the football god of the world.
Sorry, let's just reference what that decline was. When footballers are in decline, it's because they can't run as fast.
Yeah.
They've lost their sort of instinct. Their fitness isn't quite
That's not
there.
that's not
It's
what
not
was
because of the
Injuries are
cocaine.
caught up. This guy was on the decline because he was pushing like literally like
kilograms.
sand dunes
Yeah.
of cocaine up his nose.
Vast mountain ranges of white powder. He was blasting. He was blasting like a machine. So this thread that Ben found, it starts with, and I mean, it's called The Upshot.
Yeah,
If you want to go and look it up.
this like Twitter is the best social media.
Oh.
There's so much stuff on there.
It's the best and the worst. But here it is. It's Diego Maradona and Napoli, the world's wildest football romance. A head-spinning cocktail of devotion, chaos, and unrivaled glory, plus enough class A's to kill a horse. From plastic penises to cocaine in the Pope's bathroom. This is the story that Netflix won't tell you. So I've got a couple of these pictures from this Twitter thread that we can just reference here. Amazing stuff, right?
So if you don't know too much about Diego Maradona, like people will draw parallels between him and Pele being the greatest ever from that era. And he was incredibly gifted. He was a tiny little guy, kind of like Lionel Messi. He was the precursor to Messi.
But Messi is so clean.
Yes.
In every way. I mean, sure, his dad wasn't a great manager from a tax point of view, but this was Diego Maradona did not give two shits. Give us some examples from this Twitter thread. I'm not going to go through all of them.
So, again, just going back to how great he was as a player, he was one of those people in the era where not everyone was professional, not everyone was incredible like nowadays. There was no defensive structures. So, like Pele, he could just run amok and he would just be scoring goals left, right, and center. But there's an interesting link between Argentina and parts of Italy, where some Italians see themselves more as Argentinian than they do Italian because there's a massive north-south rivalry, and there's a lot of tension between those two regions.
Yeah, they're even separatists in the south. Yeah.
So Maradona went to Italy to go play for Napoli, and he was an absolute god because he was a cult figure, but he was good at football. It wasn't just that he went there and he banged women, although his bodyguard during the time in Napoli believed that he had banged 8,000 women.
8,000. That's bigger than Julio Iglesias.
That's a strike rate. That's a strike rate.
It's incredible.
But when you're on cocaine the whole time, going back to the Took reference, you're energized, right? You can do stuff. Nothing's holding you back.
You never run out of energy.
And this guy couldn't leave the house without women literally just throwing themselves at him. That's why his driver was so accurate with the 8,000 because he was seeing them come and go. Jeez. So all the women of Napoli would just throw themselves.
And let me remind you, hot Italian supermodel variety women. We're not talking about like street hookers.
Yeah.
Although he probably had a bunch of those as well.
Oh no, we'll get to those. So you got an energetic, athletic Argentinian guy just plowing through Napoli's women, and
plowing,
he was
literally plowing. Yeah.
And he was still doing the business on the field.
Because he had all the Coke energy.
Exactly.
And the Coke energy made him fly.
And Coke confidence.
Coke confidence.
But
Big deal.
Just, there's a really great story about he went to go visit the Vatican one day and he did a line of Coke in the Pope's bathroom. And then after that, the Pope was crapping on about how you got to save the kids in Africa, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, well, sell the ceilings. Sell your art.
Yeah, that's what he actually told the Pope. After he was blasting in the bathroom of the Pope. And then he comes out and he says, why don't you just sell this Sistine Chapel ceiling if you want to help the kids? Which is true. If you really want to help the kids. Anyway,
that didn't happen.
So
you can even see in this picture, he's like,
look at his eyes.
His eyes are just giant, big.
And he's next to these like religious tanners who are just having the best time being next to the Pope. And he's just done an absolute line. But then mid 80s into early 90s was his absolute prime. So 86, he won the World Cup. And then he won the Serie A with Napoli. 3-day bender in the town itself. So everybody was in on this, right?
3-day bender.
Everybody was in on this. Like they would bring him drugs. He would go to a restaurant and they would bring him drugs. So it would be like penne arrabbiate, a little bit this, and drugs. And it would just be, it was so open. And then drug testing was there. But what he did was, it wasn't like it is now with USADA. Like I know how stringent these are. I've seen guys get tested by USADA. They're literally grabbing your dick in the urinal. Whereas Diego, he had a plastic one, filled it with clean urine from someone else. And he would go there, make a little display of it.
They probably paid some like homeless kid in the street to pee into the plastic one. And then he would be like squeezing it out. And then people would think that was his urine. And then he'd come out clean every time. They'd be like, how is this guy? How?
He would have to have his anti-drug schlong with him all the time because that's how he got through this stuff.
Where do you store a thing like that?
Who's supplying? Who's keeping it?
You put it in your cabin luggage, and then if it explodes in the plane because the pressure differential, I mean, you can have urine all over your stuff. So these are things normal people don't have to think about.
If you go into my Twitter feed, you can go through this whole thing because I think it would take us about 20 minutes to do any sort of justice. But the whole thing is with all drugs, since we started this conversation, as I got in, things unravel. And suddenly he became a bit of a sort of fall guy. People were like, really upset about the fact that he knocked Italy out of the World Cup in 1990.
And they turned on him.
They turned on him pretty hard. And it's easy to turn on a guy who's such an absolute train wreck. Sure, he's a cult figure. A lot of people just always loved him forever and ever. I mean, I think it was...
I just want to throw in 2 more stories because this is too good to ignore. So the one story was about how he flew into Moscow. And this is just absolutely incredible. So it's before a UEFA Cup game in Moscow. He had a huge coke bender and missed his flight.
Yeah.
So he hires a private jet because he realizes like, oh shit, I got to be on the field in like 6 hours, and I'm in Italy. Hires a private jet, flies the private jet into Moscow, lands at 2 a.m. on match day. They're playing that next day. He's there at 2 a.m. on the match day. Instead of going to the hotel and having a bit of sleep or just chilling, maybe, coming down from his high, he goes straight to Red Square and convinces the guards to let him into Lenin's mausoleum. That's his major. That's what he wants to do.
That just goes to show like co-confidence.
It's wild. It's just unbelievable. And then he used to, these 8,000 women that he slept with. He was the most hated man in the world at one point.
Exactly. Yeah. Because he's living in a very high emotion sort of world, right?
But he's up against dictators,
but
murderers,
that's also media looking for clicks,
war criminals.
views.
But he's the most hated guy in the world.
Yeah.
He won by a landslide when they did this poll.
But he was the guy that was just, he lived, you hear about living in the fast lane, and everyone knew about Maradona's coke binges and things like that. But right to the bitter end, they were still feeding him lions. There was that clip of he was watching some football game, I think it was a Copa America or whatever, and he's really at like the final days, right? The dawn of his death. And he's just getting like this tray. It's like 2 grams on there just to keep him.
Well, they found his plastic schlong eventually, took it away, and then he had to give a real sample. And when they handed over his real sample, the results came back and there was enough coke in his piss to kill a polar bear.
Easily.
That's what they say.
Because he was a slight man. He was tiny. But Carl makes a very good point. Like, you should have a documentary in Napoli itself to actually tie back how many of his bastard children are running around.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple must have got through the goalie.
Sure.
Easy.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
Oh. Maradona was like the McCormick raper. It did the work of 1,000 men. And Congo Chris says, apparently the problem with cocaine and sex is the mind may be willing, but the noodle is limp. He probably took other stuff as well.
Yeah, look, once you...
He took like Viagra probably.
In for a penny, in for a pound, he would have added other stuff into that mix, no doubt.
Yeah.
And again, when you got people doing the stuff for you, like he was involved with the mafia as well. He could get whatever he wanted. Everybody wanted to be around Maradona. Like, you don't see it as much nowadays because, well, there's just too much sports and there's just too much other stuff. But sports people used to stand out so much. They literally were, the most iconic, godlike structures.
They were just the coolest people.
Yeah.
And someone like Maradona, even though he was delivering the results in the sports field, he was larger than that. He wasn't just a great footballer. Sure, that's what got us interested in him in the first place. But he took it to a new level by being the coolest guy in the whole world.
Well, football is religion. So it always comes back to is that these people aren't just players. They are the magnets of all this attention. And he just...
What a guy.
Like, I love Lionel Messi. I think he's great. I love what Ronaldo has done. But
they're serious people.
In 20 years' time, none of us are talking about them.
You reckon?
Nah.
Don't say that. Aren't they like the greatest of our time? So
yes,
definitely we're still going to be talking about
at kicking a ball. You know what's going to happen in 20 years' time? Someone else is going to be kicking a ball very, very well. You know what's going to happen in another 20 years' time? No one's going to have a fake schlong with clean urine. No one's going to have stories like this. And this is what we do. Like deep down, all of us humans are depraved individuals, right?
Yeah.
We care about this kind of stuff because we can't do it. I love what Ronaldo does in the field, and I can't do that either.
Oh, man.
But it's been done.
Look at this picture of him. So apparently, he's wearing like a bunch of fake grapes on a G-string at the pool, but it's a jacuzzi pool, and it belongs to a mafia boss.
Yeah.
That's the guy in the background. He's like a notorious mafia boss from Naples.
Yeah.
See, that's a story.
It just must have been such a life to try and comprehend, even back then.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see Ed Sheeran doing interesting stuff like that. He's going on that stupid show with that fat man. What's his name? James something.
James Corden. Show.
He's going there and they're singing songs together like they're in bloody high school, and they're the nerds in the class.
Yeah, but look, I'm not too disparaging about local people. Just that, current people, is that we have peaked. Whereas then, the people were still on the up and up. You could still do these things, like hiring a private jet was still a big deal. Whereas now, any sort of tech moron could probably get it together, or look like he's getting it together. I mean, Fikile Balula once posted from a private jet.
Ugh.
So we've peaked. Everyone's got the access to do these things. Whereas back then, everyone was kind of like under the radar, and then one oak would just fly through the ceiling like him.
Carl says, agreed. Sport got too professional. Bring back the cocaine and whores.
That's also a fair point. The
Mm.
professionalism
Oh,
was
I
ultimately
thought
going to happen.
he'd say bring back the cheating. I mean, we did get what the hand
And-
of God.
and hey, that wasn't cheating. It was adjudicated as fair. All right.
Well, no, it wasn't cheating. It's just that what he did, and then the ref cheated, basically, because the ref didn't implement the rules of the law.
Well, I've always said, and you never liked this when I said it, Ben, but maybe you've changed your mind. I reckon we should allow drugs into sport. It would make things fascinating. Even for people who don't care about sport, they'd watch. Because suddenly you've got all these alpha specimens at the Olympics, for example.
Yeah, but
And now you give them the performance-enhancing drugs.
Ooh.
Even if their
Mhm.
hearts explode while they're doing the triple jump,
It should be a separate thing.
you'll see the best results. I mean, it'll be supremely interesting to watch.
Well, you get in bodybuilding, you get the ones that allowed drugs,
Oh yeah,
and you get the ones that aren't. You get the clean and non-clean.
okay.
So I mean, there are those.
And the
kind of-
non-clean ones,
Are
I
they
mean,
smaller? Like, can you tell
No,
the difference
they're
between?
bigger.
No, I mean, it's obviously if you're doing drugs, you're going to be bigger and more enhanced and more perfect.
they're like gorillas.
Yeah, I mean, no, like it's all done very scientifically. You don't just Maradona your way through steroids.
Oh,
No,
so
for
they're,
the best.
they're not like taking teaspoons of some kind of performance-enhancing drug right there in front of everybody.
I don't think it's as gratuitous as that, but they're definitely doing it.
No, I want them to take their pills and their injections on camera,
Yes, see, it goes
and then
back
we
to the
watch
point.
them
We are
start
so
to
dep-
sweat.
Yeah.
And then they go do the things, and
Right.
you're like,
And
you
it's
are
like
number
it's
one.
100 meters, and the guy just suddenly shits his pants, and then like the other one just falls over.
But
The other one
But they
has a
do it in
stroke,
2.3 seconds. You know, it'll
Yeah.
be worth it.
and then his knee comes out of the socket.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get it. There's an appeal for that.
There is.
People would want to
Huge
watch
appeal.
that, but you'd have to get some sort of guy with like, you have to get $1 billion to get to like a pool of people together. So like what Saudi Arabia have done with Live Golf is that they've got all this money so they can basically own these people to the point
Yeah.
now where like they do apparel deals for them and they're part of these teams now. So it's very, very inclusive and exclusive.
Yeah.
So to get your dream, you would have to go to the Saudis and say, look, build the track, build a stadium,
Yeah.
take $1 billion, take the fringe people who
Mhm.
aren't going to be the gold medalists because structurally,
And bring some out of retirement.
no, because once you're old, no one cares.
But with enough performance-enhancing drugs
Come
and
on
not much
now.
more to live for,
Yeah, they might
your
be
glory
takers.
days are behind you. They'll take whatever you could give them test tubes full of radioactive shit, and they
Have you heard high school guys? You know, I used to be in the A team for this. They still talk about it when they're 50.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
so once you've done something great,
They want to
let's
be
see if
back
you can
there,
do it again.
and this could be their only chance back in.
It
I'm
will be
telling
the
you,
only-
Ben.
you
They
could-
sign a form.
I mean,
Here,
I'd
if I
watch it.
die, I die.
I'm
I
not
would
going to
watch
fight you on
it.
this. I
In
think
fact, the
it's-
only line is if you die, you die, and then they sign right under it. And then the Saudis, I mean, you could even execute them if they don't perform.
maybe a bit strong because you want goodwill at games.
Hmm.
This is the thing. There's even a goodwill.
Do you
games.
want goodwill at games? Never used to be that way.
Coming together of people, Gareth, should ultimately foster goodwill.
All right.
So maybe like drop the execution. I think Saudi Arabia wants to put that onto their
Right.
stuff.
I'm just trying to raise the stakes, Ben.
The stakes are pretty high.
It's not
Gareth.
interesting enough.
The stakes are pretty
To
high.
me, every sport is like MTN Gladiators, where they all have like padding on, and they're using like things that kids use on the playground with padding. No one ever gets hurt. You never see a blood nose. I think all sports become like that. I think a sport, the kind that I would go to every weekend, gladiator combat in the arena in Rome.
Wait, then why don't you watch EFC or something like
UFC.
that?
It's not enough. No, Ben.
You don't watch it.
No, we want weapons.
Not enough.
We want weapons. We want wild animals. We want life and death every time. Every time someone's going to die. Guaranteed.
Actual death.
Yeah, because the stakes are then, I mean, like people want that. We live in a society where everyone's like, oh, I'm a big fan of this team. You're like, not really.
Well, it's the watered down version of what you want. It's like
That's exactly my point. I'm saying go back to the original. The
'cause
original
we used to encounter wars.
Gladiator A, Gladiator B. One of you is going to die. Fight to the death. The stakes are high. These
Super
guys are
high.
not there to mess around. They have trained. They have thought. They've chosen their weapon carefully. And they know
But this is what
there's going to be blood.
But this is how G4S redeems themselves, right?
There we go.
They get these prisons together and go, look, guys, we fucked up.
Mm.
But what we're going to do is we're going to have fight to the death combat with all the people who are in here for 20 or more years.
Mhm.
And then they go, we know we've made a mistake, but this is how we're going to, win the goodwill of the public back. And they take their cash vans and they drive them, but like they brand them with who the criminal is who's about to fight.
Yeah, because they become celebrities.
And then they drive them through the town,
Yeah.
loud hailer like in Thailand when they do the Muay
But
Thai.
in a cage.
Yeah, obviously.
They must be in a cage.
Obviously. And then they drive them around the town to get everyone excited about it. And that's how you fill up stadiums.
There we
Nobody
go.
watches rugby.
We got
Ellis Park
rapist
anymore.
A versus child abuser B.
I was about to
Exactly.
say, do we have like categories?
Yes.
So, you know, like sex offenders this
Yes.
side,
Yeah.
and then like
you can
white
have,
collar
like,
crime this side.
And you know what? On the balcony, like the emperor in Rome used to give the thumbs up or thumbs down, you have the family of the victim.
Yes.
And the family of the victim are standing on the balcony and they go, keep him alive, kill the
Yeah.
motherfucker.
I mean, you can,
It would be explosive. People would go, you could sell these tickets for 10 grand a pop for the live event, pay per view on television, because countries that aren't as sick in the head as we are,
yeah.
they'd buy the rights for it. You'd eventually, because sponsors are going to be slow to take on, but eventually they'll realize this is the only thing people are watching.
Well, I think G4
Who's
is the one
going-
to hold the monopoly on.
Who's going to watch hockey or tennis or cricket when this is on?
Isn't there like a movie like this? I feel like there is.
It probably is, but
it's
I
my,
mean,
it's my dream.
No,
this
it's
is my
not,
this is
it's
my
not
big
on
is.
sports, but like where they get like a bunch of people
This
on
is
this
my big-
island and
Yeah.
there's cameras everywhere and it's
Jeffrey
basically
Epstein.
like
this is my my eventual play. This after everything else, when I've tried it all and I've got nothing to lose, this will be we'll buy the world's worst criminals. I'll go around with a big checkbook, say how many multiple serial killers do you have? Buy them. The ones who are the most notorious that haven't been seen. They've been locked up in single cells for 30 years and everybody's forgotten, but they still have teeth without gums and they have one eye and they've carved a swastika into their forehead. Those are the people that you buy and you create this hype around them and then you let them at each other.
well, you would need to go a bit better than that to give some value. So you'd buy them, you'd get them together. And this is again where G4S.
You would be my advisor.
This is where G4S comes into it again.
All right.
You've got to give them good nutrition for a few months, get them
Yes.
trained,
Yes.
get them into weapon combat. You're
Right.
not just going to go out there and see
No.
haymakers.
It won't last very long.
No, so
yeah.
you've got to literally take them in for a year of like
Training.
high density training, that kind of stuff. They eat properly, they get good sleep.
Yeah, you
and
get
they
that
come
Goggins
out.
guy to come and train them.
Goggins,
Yeah.
G4S, man of training,
Yeah.
pull him in. Yeah, but look, Gareth, the only thing I will say with some caution here is that this will be the final step in entertainment.
I know. After that, there's
Can't
no
go further
going
than
back.
this.
Yeah, then
You're
you've
opening
reached your
Pandora's
apogee.
box of
Yeah.
we will become such jaded human beings because
Mm.
we've already seen too much shit. All of us. I mean, we can have a casual conversation about Tuck at 6:30 in the morning.
I do
That's
think
how jaded we are as
I
humans.
think it will raise the morality of the general populace because people who are thinking of committing crime will see what happens to people who commit crime and they will pull back.
That's actually a fair thing because you can have some curtain raisers of like petty crime.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit
So
of
you'll see a
beating,
guy,
you know,
you'll see a
little
guy
bit
who
of
like hijacked a
humiliation,
car and you know,
shame belling.
he'll just have his head cut off immediately because he won't last in the big melee at the beginning. Because you're buying up some of the criminals will be expensive, some of them will
Yeah.
be cheap. Couple of car hijackers attack each other with tire irons.
Yeah, but you also
You know?
you have some team events. Obviously, you have some team events just to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, right.
So crowbars there,
Oh.
nightsticks there.
They do
and
what they used to do in Afghanistan. You play polo with the head of the gang leader. You
There's
know?
always 2 or 3 steps with you. I'm trying to make this
I'm-
actually realistic.
I've got a whole event list in my head. I promise you, I'll write this down. We'll put it together as a business proposal. We'll see if we can sell it to G4S. They seem like they need a.
Yeah, and look, I think we've got to be fair as well. I think you got to
All right.
have the right to fight for freedom too.
All right,
So,
we got to
right at the end.
take a break. This is fantastic conversation. You don't get this anywhere else because it would be illegal in most places to
Well,
talk.
we've also given G4S the best PR comeback.
Really, I think if you wanted a spin team to help you out of a bad
Nailed
situation,
it.
come and talk to you. Nailed.
Every time you listen to that 80s show, Tom Cruise lives another 10 years. every Friday on cliffcentral.com. Paolo and Dory review movies, reminisce about old songs, remember childhood places that are now car parks, and say some outrageously rude things about Patrick Swayze's brother. That 80s Show. New episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on cliffcentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
What do you think is best between petrol and diesel? Very, very, very simple question. With the most broad answer, or potential answers. But in your opinion,
So,
what's better?
so diesel is the most efficient fuel
Yeah.
in terms of burning it in a vehicle, right? It's to my understanding more energy dense than petrol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
All right, cliffcentral.com. I don't know why Ben's gone off here. Is he somehow think he's disconnected? So we were talking about all kinds of really bizarre stuff just before the break, but we've got even more for you. We've got it all for you this morning because we're going to talk about some serious things. We've got George popping by a little later on to answer some questions too about cars, which of course he's the best man to do. Lovely lady Lee says, no smoke detectors in the Bloem prison. I'm still shocked. And then Ben stole the wires for tick money. That's why he can't. There he's on. Okay, just press the mute. There we go. Sounds like you're in a cave.
Sorry.
Otherwise.
There we go.
There we go. All right. So Ben is on, and Congo Chris, no, he didn't steal the wires for tick money. This is a reputation you didn't deserve.
I walked into it and I fought it, and you people are still going with it.
All right. There was a thing that I shared on Instagram, which I think you might have also seen, because I think we both saw the same thing. In 20 years, you will wish you were where you are now, which I think is just such an interesting thing to do, even if you're having the shittiest day ever today. Let's say you're looking at your bank balance and you feel desperately unhappy about how much you owe and how little you have. Let's say you're not feeling your best. You've got a bit of a scratchy throat this morning, or a whole lot worse. Let's say you just come out of a relationship and you're sad about that. Your kid just bit someone. Whatever's going on in your life right now, that is shit.
Amazing reference.
Just
so specific.
Explain why this thing that was going around on Instagram this week is so powerful that it's been shared millions of times.
Yeah, we all see these things flash across our screens every single week, like there's things that resonate with us. But this has really, really hit home to me, in that sometimes when you look at something, you forget about it straight away because, like, oh, I've heard something similar. But it's so true. In 20 years, no matter who you are, you're going to want this moment. It's just, as you get older, there's so many things that happen to you, and life becomes less interesting because it becomes smaller and more narrow. And when you're younger, there's like more abundance of everything. So it's the easiest way to tell you cannot actually be sad in life. You cannot actually be upset. People will tell you that and you go, oh, yeah, whatever. But that reality will always smack you in your chops. 20 years time, you're going to be creaking. Even you, Simpiwe, you're going to be creaking.
You can have a sore knee or a sore asshole or whatever.
I'm 28, so 20 years ago, I would have been 8, and I think I would still want to be an 8-year-old, not paying bills.
Obviously, this is kind of more adult orientated. So if you're a 2-year-old reading this, because you can't read.
Well, no, don't worry about the 2-year-olds.
It might not be the thing just for you.
All I'm saying is don't grow up, kids. Like when we're 8 and younger, we're so quick to be adults. I can't wait to do this.
No matter how good your life is in 20 years' time is the point. Like, let's say it's 1,000 times better than it is now. All those things I listed that are a problem now, let's say they are solved by a plus 1,000. Let's say you're in good health, but you're still, like for me, it'll be 20 years from now, I'd be 65.
How droopy your balls are going to be there.
Yeah.
It's really hanky.
If my life is 1,000 times better in terms of all those parameters that I sketched just now, I'm still going to be 65. I'm not going to have the energy that I have now. I'm not going to have the overall health that I have now. I'm not going to have the ability to spend money on things that I really want to, like I do now. I mean, for example, you could have billions in the bank, but you're 65. What are you going to do with that?
How are you going to enjoy that? And again, it's like your patience. Another thing I kind of realized in the back of big issue. Yeah, on the back of this realization, I think I kind of hit home this week is that we have such little patience for certain things as we get older. And your problem solving becomes less and less because we haven't got the fight for it. So when you're in like really good shape and everyone goes through these ups and downs, your body runs really efficiently and you've got a fight in you. Now, I'm not just saying this to be aggressive, as in like when people are on tuck. But if you have fight in you every single day, you will do everything you want to do. So if something is in front of you as an obstacle, you will get through it because you've got fight in you. If it's like small things like you just go in the shop because you need a certain thing, the fight in you will make you do that rather than go, oh, I forgot it. I'll have to get it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get older, you become more of the I'll get it tomorrow guy.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you're always the fight person. So by getting in extremely good shape and becoming a savage with this kind of thing, you fight everything. You don't let the email piss you off. You don't let someone's stupidity piss you off. You fight through it.
I think of how much driving I used to do. If someone said to me, you've got to come to the south of Joburg for a thing next Saturday, I'd be like, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, sure.
No problem. Sure. I'll drive. I didn't even think twice. Now you have to drag me to things.
But now the default is no, and then maybe.
Yeah, correct.
And that's not a you thing. This is a as you get older thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've heard as you get older, like people enjoy the fact that they're wiser now. So or they become more themselves. So they're not trying to people please, you know, like they're like when you're 28, you're still trying to say yes to this and yes to that. And then you get to 38, you're like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And I think that's like one of the perks.
See, the thing about wisdom is you just come towards yourself a lot more. So you have to have this balance where you like put yourself out there. Like socializing is so important because it teaches you all the things you know you have to be conscious of. When you become reclusive, that's when you start only wearing track pants. I mean, we saw it in COVID. People became reclusive, and it's a horrible look on everyone. Everyone.
Oh, my God. Listen, apparently you've bought a pair of, what do they call them, those barefoot running shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
How much did that set you back?
Well, I thought it was a scam because I bought it off Instagram. And I've had a good run on Instagram of buying things. I've bought stupid,
Oh, really? So you're one of the few people on earth who's
always
able
get it,
to turn... You've made Mark Zuckerberg's dreams come true, Ben. He's been trying to monetize Instagram for years.
Well, look, I've bought...
Are you pissed off they took away that store icon at the bottom because they've changed it again?
No, I would never buy through the store. Just people would advertise to me. I'd click on a link and I'd buy stuff. Like from drunken purchases of cat beds and all the way through to barefoot shoes. So like the whole theory about barefoot shoes, and I'm sure the comments will light up here about how ridiculous they are because nobody likes these things. Basically, I've come to realize that these are more hated than Crocs, which is quite something. I mean, because basically Crocs is like a death sentence for your feet. But these things apparently even have more hate, but they are the most comfortable, the most amazing things I've
I'm
ever
trying
put
to
on my
remember
feet.
what they even look like. How could I look them up?
Most of them are hideous. Obviously, you get various
Barefoot.
brands. So I thought I'd dip my toe into this thing by buying this particular brand.
Oh, these are horrendous. They've got like toe
No,
soles.
they don't all have the individual toe dividers. That's a
God.
bit weird. That's a bit
No.
reptilian for
These
me.
don't have the toe dividers, but the sole of the thing has like padding. Let me just show you
Mm-mm.
this.
It's horrible.
No,
This
it's
is the
great.
first one that came up.
It's horrible. Ben, no.
They deserve to be as hated as Crocs.
yeah.
So the idea being that I want
show you this
I want
picture.
a shoe that I can do a variety of workouts in. So whether it's kettlebell stuff, whether it's going for a run, a hike, whatever it is, I want something that's going to be natural.
They look like that.
Sort of.
Oh.
Like the sole looks identical. Those
Yeah.
like the tops look different. I don't have as that looks like.
Can you
quite a
imagine
premium
how
brand.
confused an archaeologist will be one day when they
And I see those?
when they see a footprint of that? They'll think like some mechanical monster that was half lizard, because it looks like almost like a lizard's scales had traversed the earth. If that gets fossilized in mud, big problems for archaeologists in the future. They'd be like, "What the hell was this?"
So look, we put our feet.
Probably a vegan.
So we put our feet in these feet prisons most of the day. And if you look at women, imagine like in the 80s where you only wore high heels because you had to. How deformed women's feet were in
Well,
the back
ask
of that.
Simpiwe. I mean, she's thrilled that she doesn't have to wear those every day.
But you get used to it. To a
Yes,
point where, like, if you wear flats, it's sore.
but people in Burundi also get used to extreme poverty and like
Yeah.
genocides and
Yeah.
shit. Everyone gets used to stuff. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
you must do it.
You know, those women, they put those rings on and then their necks get longer.
Yeah.
They're used to
Yeah.
it, but it's not great.
So I mean, look, with all of these things, I'm just curious and I want to try them out because I
Okay.
want to be like it's all for one thing, right? When I finally have the money to go to the Augusta National to watch the Masters, I want to be the best shape because in the current trajectory of the economy, I'm probably going to be 71 years old when I can afford that. I've done the maths, but I'll be awesome. I'll be in great shape. My feet will be strong. I can walk for 4 days. I'm going to get the best experience. So I'll sacrifice
All right.
a bit of stuff now.
Well, you know, this is just another cult to add to your cold water baths, your cold showers, your what was the other stuff that you've done? You've done all of it. You've pretty much done it all.
Because I'm fascinated by human optimization.
Okay.
Sure.
Simple as that.
What are the holes on the bottom for? Foot sweats, says Hermine.
you can't come back from some of these comments though. Foot sweats.
Carl says, Ben, do not fucking hike in those. In 20 years, your feet will hate you.
How, Carl? Because if you're gonna look, I'm not just going suddenly into a long hike with these things. I'm gonna wear them around the house. I'll do a little bit of slow walking with them, get acclimatized to it. But you are essentially strengthening your feet. It's as simple as that. Like there's nothing more to this. It's the simplest cult there is, Carl.
All right, let's move. I don't care. If you wear those to the show, I'm going to mock you.
No, don't wear them at the house unless you are working out. Don't do that.
Simpiwe just side-eyed me.
She did. She totally did.
With a level of side-eye I've never seen it. Like she side-eyed me while looking lower towards
I'm just
potential
like,
shoes.
I'm judging you in terms of your purchase, and I'm just saying, don't, unless it's for working out. We don't want to see you in
It's
them.
Fine, guys. Look, when in 20 years' time, when we go, shit, I wish it was 20 years ago. You'll look at me and go, yeah, Ben, you're still in decent shape. Like you're still kind of with it. There's still a bit of fight in
Your
you.
feet will be full of corns and verrucas. and-
Horrible.
Yours will. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be.
Oh, Jesus. I looked at my feet the other day because now, summer's officially over.
Mm.
And I didn't wear slops a lot. I usually wear sneakers. I looked at my feet and I thought, I don't think I have very nice looking feet.
So high heels in the 80s. No one's really got good looking feet. And even like,
Don't say that.
and even these
See, like,
people.
only, well, I'd say
There are
only
foot
feet.
models.
Yes,
There are
like
foot
where
models.
they show us their feet and they look gorgeous. And
Only,
guys get.
did you say only feet as in only fans for feet? I know
reckon-
it's a thing. I know it's a thing.
But like, it's such a fetish. I reckon they could have only feet.
Only
there
feet.
We've got two great business ideas today. Battle to the Death G4S
And only feet.
and only feet. Ryan, register onlyfeet.com
Yeah. Please, let's get that done.
before Carl or one of these other perverts gets it done.
While Dr. Jonathan Witt says you can actually fuck up your ankles like your knees and hips if you wear those kinds of shoes.
You see?
See?
A doctor is telling you don't do that
And
thing.
then you'll need an ankle replacement, he says. How do
Yeah.
you feel then?
If you I will fight you on this because I mean you are like my North Star when it comes to guidance on these kind of things. But I'm not overweight. My power to weight ratio is good. My frame, I think, is solid. I'm not going to be running 50 miles a day in these things.
He says he did an ankle replacement yesterday for someone just like you.
How fat were they?
Says they were exactly like you.
No bullshit, Gareth.
He says exactly the same height, weight, frame, all that shit you just said.
Could have been your
Everything.
turn.
Hairstyle.
Just replace the whole ankle. Big fucking metal thing that goes like the Terminator. Just put on a new foot for this human.
Yeah, Sharon wants a pair. Sharon's in on this.
Oh no. Oh.
Please don't.
I like being
Yeesh.
barefoot. Look, it's all it comes down to. So this
Ben
is just,
starts saving up for a wheelchair. This is a horrible plan.
Cole, I'm gonna start OnlyFeet with you. So we'll be making millions. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'll be bionic
right.
by the time I'm 60.
Quick thing we have to throw in here too. What are cuddles? Simply explain yourself. We are holding you responsible. What
Is
the
this
hell?
also
Are,
footwear?
why are we talking about ugly shoes from? Are these
So-
also a kind of shoe?
No, so cuddles is basically when you and a partner kind of just like
Oh,
You
it's
know,
okay.
get
so-
together and just kind of hug and like the big spoon, little
Oh,
spoon.
I know what a cuddle is, but I thought
But-
these were a product.
There are now.
Oh,
You can purchase cuddles for 900 rand, 90 minutes.
Well, and some
with a stranger.
some oak rocks up at your house.
Yeah. So
This is a recipe for a lot of
In
This
rape.
the
is
world
an
of Tobo
actual-
Besta, this is not a great
This is
plan.
not. Yeah, Tabo Besta would. This sounds like an idea that's come out of their
this is
side
an
of.
actual business
Yeah.
Started
right,
at Bloemfontein.
that
Last
has
year.
been getting great reception apparently, where it's to help people that feel lonely. So
Oh,
you can
man.
actually book like a cuddle session with
Oh.
a professional cuddler. It ranges from 900 to like 4.2 for 90 minutes.
This
And
is so smart.
they cuddle.
This is
I
so
would
smart.
rather be bust with animal porn than admit that I'd paid someone
Yeah,
to
Gareth,
cuddle
you're
me.
But
not the
winter
target
is
market,
coming.
but think about
Hang on a
some
second.
other
Who
yourself
is the
for a second
target
here.
market?
Single people or
Look,
lonely people.
I will tell you both sides of this business model. Can you imagine being a prostitute? Every day you're getting pounded. You need a rest day, right? It's like anything in life. You can't go full stick 7 days a week. So now you've got lonely people who don't have the courage to have a prostitute. And they probably don't actually have like the emotional connection to and the follow through to have sex with a stranger. But the cuddle's the gateway, right? So you got gateway prostitute people and you got prostitute rest days. There, summed it up in 2 seconds. Great idea. 3 businesses now. We've
Well, this one
You know when,
exists.
you know when
I-
people talk about entrepreneurship, they should just listen to this show.
This
You don't have
show-
to go to university.
the most under the radar entrepreneur show on earth.
Yeah, I beat this Elon Musk. 3 businesses in one morning.
Because it's prostitute. Think about it, okay? Like, not that I have, but I've got a quick mind. You can't keep going, and you think, shit, now I've got to take a rest day, can't earn money. But now, it's almost like passive income.
So you can relax because the
Yes.
point is you obviously you want to fall asleep with this person, or is it?
I have no
are you
idea.
awake?
90
Are
minutes.
you
though.
staring at them like a
Well,
psychopath?
I mean, they're right next to you
Obviously
for
rules.
90 minutes. I don't know if you're falling asleep, but
Mm.
I'm also just like 90 minutes is a bit too long for just cuddling.
So I knew a guy who was on Yakaranda like a few years ago.
but like a DJ.
He was like one of those guys who'd do features, you know. He'd be like
okay.
doing things that are interesting.
So we wouldn't know who he was.
And he once went to Kenton Park and cuddled a woman for an hour. Oh my God. And he said it was actually kind of rewarding.
I think that's so humiliating. I just think
I don't
and a
think that's the
stra-
best look for the
and-
East
and a-
Rand.
and a
No,
stranger-
So I'm not
mm.
saying he
me
never
tell
said.
you.
He said rewarding was his
as
thing.
you see, you would. How does this work? Do you do it at your house, and
No, so I think you
the
book.
cuddle prostitute comes to your house? They knock on you. I'm here for the
Cuddle
cuddles.
professional.
And you go, oh, thank God, I was desperate for the cuddles.
So,
You go upstairs together, and what do you get in your pajamas, and you lie there, and then this person cuddles you, a
So-
stranger,
it's a complete stranger.
and it's
And
not
you
allowed
can
to go
book-
beyond cuddles.
Gareth, I do not understand your disbelief here. I mean, massages. People have interactions on a
Yeah,
physical
I
level of
can't
all
talk
that.
about entrepreneurship. I still want to start the tickle bar where you get your back tickled.
Dude, that's creepier to me.
It's not.
That's far creepier.
You need to list that. What? That's business number 5.
No,
now
that's
on
creepy.
today's show.
Tickles. You might. What are you going to call it? Uncle's here.
No, man. No. Yeah. You get these Oriental girls who are all over Rivonia anyway.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
you sit there and you get a back tickle. It's like a massage, except you're still fully clothed. There's nothing weird about it.
So, Cliff, it's a bit
You
creepy.
you think that's more creepy than letting a stranger get into
Just-
bed and cuddle you?
For
No.
90 minutes.
Because I'm an adult here, right? I understand that there's people out there who will never get close to bringing someone home, right? And that there's a need. Tickling, that's like,
Because usually the sort of person who can't bring someone home for a back tickle or for a cuddle is probably the kind of person who kills people when they come to their home for a back tickle or a cuddle.
obviously,
There
I
are
mean,
huge dangers in this business.
but it's a lot.
Simpiwe.
There's a lot more honesty on the go here. Tickling.
You
Come on.
brought this up. How does it work?
So basically, it's similar to that. So you book out. You can book male, female, and there are like
Can you buy by weight? Because in winter,
oh, wow.
it could be a,
I don't know. I think you just kind of pick. You just like you don't know what you're gonna get that day.
Like a steak. How many kilograms?
well, nobody wants to cuddle some emaciated
No.
tick addict.
No, definitely.
There is the option of them coming to you, or you can go to their premises. And basically, what happens is you
A cuddle brothel. Great idea.
you get into a position of like and they'll just embrace you, and for 90 minutes they kind of just give you that embrace. And my whole thing is it's 90 minutes.
I think
I don't
it's.
trust. I don't trust it. I
Mm-mm.
don't think.
No, guys, obviously it's weird. It's weird as all hell, but there's a thing here, right?
Ben, why does it seem like you would actually buy cuddles?
Why? What? Where did I suggest that I would afford a
you
cuddle?
you
I know how
from-
desperate people are in this world, though, Simpiwe. I'm not living under a rock here. I don't want this. But
Carl
there's people
says-
out there
Carl
I know
says-
who are lonely.
Gareth, your back tickle idea is much better. But then somebody else here
You
says,
don't want Carl confirming your ideas, Gareth.
well, Lindiwe says, Gareth, your professional tickle service sounds creepy. Carl does say, do you sound like the guy who organized all the entertainment on Epstein's Island?
Yes.
Ugh. No, I think that this cuddle thing is very creepy. I really do. I think it's worse than the tickle thing.
It's sad.
We went,
It's so sad.
we went from OnlyFeet to cuddling.
Oh.
I think we were already on the spectrum here.
90 minutes is way too long for a cuddle only, says Sun Marie. See,
Yes.
she'd go straight to the hardcore action.
Yeah. Guys,
I don't know.
I think we're
this is
being a bit
horrible.
harsh.
To let
it's
a
not for us.
strange person into your bed just to hold you? Mm-mm. That's the
How
saddest.
lonely are you? Can't you call your friend?
Yeah,
in?
that is the saddest,
it's
saddest
so-
thing.
Again, did you people wake up in South Africa today? You know how many lonely people are out there who don't have any social skills and can't get this in their life? A cuddle is something that they crave, like probably more than sex, because sex is quite transactional. A
Mm,
cuddle can
okay.
be seen as personal.
I don't
So
know.
now
Just
we are
because-
buying personal experiences now, like where.
We always have
But this.
escorts. Some people get basically married to another person because of money.
I do know that it's at the Grand in Joburg. There are some guys who just want the girl to talk to them
Yes,
for like an hour. They'll pay her to just sit and talk
Just
to
hang.
them, just be there with them.
almost like being on a date.
Yeah, because they obviously have no social skills, and for them, it's not a strip club as much as it is a place where they can actually have an interaction with a woman.
Maybe cuddling is how you get off prostituting.
Very sad.
So what if someone could only have a prostitute once a month and they're going, yeah, maybe I
It's
should.
very sad.
Wouldn't
tone
you
it
want to
down.
take the talking service then? That's
well,
the best way to get
you
off
see,
it.
Carl again is going straight to the heart of it. He says, if you get an erection during the cuddle session, do they kick you out or just pay more?
Oh no, they actually continue for the session.
Ah.
They say
Ah.
as long as you don't
Well,
touch them inappropriately,
Yeah, Carl,
then
I think as soon as you go to erection stage, you fall
Mm.
to small spoon, unfortunately. So
Mm.
I think that's how. I mean, my basic understanding of Tetris would suggest that that's kind of how
right.
it plays
That's
out.
how it works. As much as Boss BGP says, as much as the tickle bar sounds creepy, it does sound divine. I'm telling you.
Mm.
Ben, are you, Slippery Pickle, getting very personal here? Are you an eye contact, back cuddle only kind of guy? I don't know what that means.
Mm,
What does that mean?
Slippery pickle. I don't just cuddle indiscriminately, so I don't say I have a style or whatever. This is a very odd question. But then again, your profile picture is basically pickled penis.
Dr. Robin says, I've just driven past a G4S cash in transit van. Loosing a murderer probably isn't a great ad for their ability to look after you. But imagine a cage on the top with the murderer to the eye of the tiger. Dun,
Oh, exactly.
dun, 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 dun,
We
dun.
need more icons in the streets.
I agree.
Yeah. Look, Dr. Robin, I think sleep on it. Let it sort of percolate for the weekend. I think
We've given you a lot of
you'll
ideas.
be on board.
There's got to be someone super entrepreneurial in the audience. We give you permission on these 3 ideas.
I love how we use entrepreneurial so casually.
It is.
Basically talking about death and sexual services.
Those are the areas that are most hot at the moment for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, fair point.
And I think it's less embarrassing than being Mark Zuckerberg,
True. Also true.
you know?
See, that's the thing, Gareth. You always bring it home with a real
good-
world reference.
A good context reference, you know? Because you need to have context on these things. Anyway, yeah, cuddles are only enjoyable when each person has washed their hair. I think
Right.
that's extremely important.
It's such a particular thing
But
to
it
say.
Yeah,
is-
like what
is-
happened?
it
What
is
has happened in your life to make sure that that's a definite? Like you're like, never again am I going to experience such.
Well, I mean, for the first time on a Friday morning, we've now got all 4 microphones busy. So George is here. Hello, George. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good.
Morning.
George made it after being at our event last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
He made it in this morning, bright and early too. And we've got a question we especially need you to help solve. What do you think of our business ideas? You're an entrepreneur. Do you think they're laughable and stupid?
No business idea is laughable and stupid. I mean, 90% of them fail, but you don't know unless you've tried.
It's a very good point. I think market penetration is going to be key here. That we strike while everything is hot.
Exactly. You got to.
Are your headphones all right?
Yeah, I was wondering why it was so muffled, but
Oh,
I wasn't.
is that better?
Yeah, they're much better.
Because Ben sat here the other day.
I
made him
know.
deaf.
A whole
But he just-
speaker in his
But he
ear.
just sat there.
He just sat there like a lummox, just waiting, drooling,
It was like a
ble-
like an
blood,
episode of Black Mirror. It's like,
blood pissing from his earphones, and he's like, "Everything's gonna be all right. Focus on the music."
yeah, professional.
Oh
You're in here
wow!
once a week.
Can you still hear after that?
Yeah, I mean, it took a few days.
But you know, when there's
We were going to send you a sign language interpreter just to help you get through the day.
when there's loud music or noise in your ears, don't those little hairs break off and you can't repair them?
The hairs, the whole eardrum was smashed into the inside of his skull. They're sitting in his
Somebody was hammering
amygdala
my
at the
hammer.
moment.
Uh,
No, it's unbelievable. All right, so George, first of all, how have you been? We missed out on your update last week.
yeah. So you know, when you've got too many balls in the air, like sometimes I have, and it's my own fault because I just take on too much stuff. You don't realize that you may be reaching burnout, and you only really start to realize that when your health starts getting affected.
So what happened to you that made you think I need to take a break? Because you did say in the comments section this week that you decided to take a detox from all the technology.
Mm.
You switched off your phone. You need to do that, right?
For sure. You
Okay,
do.
so what made you do that, first of all, and then what was the experience like?
So the one thing that made me start to kind of sit up and pay attention was two major things. The one was my blood pressure was subtly higher. It was just slightly higher. Now I've got a blood pressure cuff thing at home.
Ooh, how often do you check? Because that can become obsessive.
It can become obsessive. You're right. So I 3 times a week I try and stick to, but when
Wow.
it starts getting higher, you start kind of over obsessing about it.
Then you check every
Then you-
15 minutes.
Then you check twice a day
Yeah,
or every
yeah,
15 minutes.
yeah.
But I noticed that it started rising and I didn't know why. Eventually I started getting this like a zinging sound in my head and I didn't know what that was.
Because we turned up your headphones the last time you were on the show.
But here's the brain fog evidence.
Okay.
And I think this was the major thing. I would walk up my stairs at home, get to the top, and not remember why I went up those stairs.
Ooh.
and that, I think, is your brain just trying to think about too many things at the same time. And I realized I needed to just switch off for a while.
You got to clear your cache.
Clear your cache, exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
Reboot.
So, all right, what did you do tech-wise to just get out of that? And did you go away?
I did.
Did you go somewhere far away from everybody else?
Cape Town.
Oh.
Is that far enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's far enough, but you got to kind of follow it up with some behavior.
Okay.
So
You walk around barefoot, connect yourself to the earth.
Yes, just ground yourself.
I went and ran on the beach.
There we go.
So
Very good.
That's what I did. I was in the swimming pool every day at my sister's house. I played with the kids. I just, because kids have got this kind of carefree energy about them.
Yeah.
So I played with the kids. So many kids, they could have driven you nuts anyway.
Was your sister like a Mormon or something? She had 15 children?
Is your sister Labang?
Yes. Is she Labang Hosanna?
No, my sister has a few kids. So I did everything that I don't normally do, including turning this thing's notifications off.
Yeah.
Did it really bother you to have it off in the beginning?
In the beginning, I found myself picking up my phone all the time.
Oof.
Because I had turned off the notifications.
Yeah.
I had literally turned them off. I had to actually go and check WhatsApp, or go, and if I wanted to, I had to go into the app. And that took about a day or two to get used to. And then eventually I was leaving my phone lying around.
You actually have to run a business. You're the CEO of a business. You've got a large staff complement. You've got very important things to decide every day. You would have more reason to say, I can't do without my phone than most people. But did you just tell everybody at work, guys, I'm out for a week. Handle things. I've employed good people. They know what they're doing. Do your work.
I think the main thing is your subconscious is always looking for a reason why something is going to come at you. Something is going to come out of the woodwork.
It's a flight and fight thing. We're always on alert.
Yes.
Right.
And what I think I had to realize was that the team I had hired over the last 15 years is capable.
Yeah.
They are capable. And switching,
if you died, they'd manage the business. It's not going to fall apart. We all think if they can't get hold of me, like I'm the Pope in Rome. Oh, if they can't get hold of me, then the souls won't go to heaven.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly. And what proved that to me, Gareth, was we launched one of the biggest features in the country during the time that I was away.
Wow. And it's all going swimmingly. What is the feature?
It's called price ratings, where we put a flag on each car, and we give an indication of whether the price is high, low, or in the sweet spot.
That's very handy.
Nice.
That's very clever.
And you know what? The business is still standing.
Yeah, probably
So-
thriving, probably doing very, very nicely.
It's-
Not to say that you aren't the most important person in there, but sometimes you've got to take a step back. So, all right, you switched off the phone notifications, you went to Cape Town, you did all these things, swam, ran on the beach. Did you feel an improvement when you came back?
I felt an improvement during the week. Okay, my blood pressure was down. I checked it about 2 or 3 times while I was down there, and it had come down. So to give you an indication, my blood pressure was hovering at around 130 to 140 over 90 to 100. Okay, so that's what indicated to me that something's not right here. It came down to 120 over 80, which is
That's
normal
good.
for my
That's
age.
where you want to be.
Yeah. So it came down right down to 120 over 80. When I came back, my blood pressure and heart rate did elevate.
Well,
So are you doing anything differently now since you've detoxed and ensuring that you don't go back to that elevated heart rate?
So 2 things. The one is the one thing that I realized I'd stopped doing was meditating. As a matter of fact, I started some cold water therapy when I came back. Have
you bought shitty barefoot running shoes?
I haven't
as well?
got quite to the ice bath
Stop
stage.
racing him into this, Gareth.
I didn't get
Ice baths, yes.
but
Sure.
Barefoot, foot, don't. No.
No. So, for instance, yesterday morning, I had a warm shower, and then I went straight and jumped into the swimming pool. And the swimming pool wasn't quite where it needs to be in terms of Ben's standards, but it was 20 degrees. So that's not.
Yeah, that's the
that's
contrast,
not- yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's what you want. You want the hot and the cold.
That's why
Yes.
people in
Different.
Iceland and Finland and Sweden and Norway, where it's always cold, and they live for a long time, and they're supposedly happier than the rest of the people in the world. I don't know about that, but anyway, they do tend to age a little bit better than the rest of us. Japan too, they like their saunas, and they go from the sauna into the ice, right?
But this is the thing. You have to have these sucky little moments, but it's about resetting your head.
Yeah.
You know, not to make light of what your week was, but also think that if you have a boss who doesn't go away like this, it's a ticking time bomb. And like if you can be conscious of this kind of stuff.
Do you think you would have
because
torn someone's head off at work
Something-
eventually?
You get cranky.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. It's like
Jeez, I'm cranky all the time.
But you like you lose your
Take some
professionalism. You start doing cutting corners with stuff. You start
Get
being
out.
less social. These things are hugely important.
They're massively important. And you know what? I think, Ben said something when I was on my way here.
Yeah. This is
Which-
about the prostitute's day off.
No.
Because I thought that was a valid point.
Passive income.
Yeah.
Ben said something a bit earlier on, which is you have to build this resilience, and you can't just switch it on and off. It's and I think the burnout happens over a period of time. It doesn't.
Absolutely.
It's not just kind of fall off a cliff at some point. It builds over a period of time, and to get back to where you were, it builds over a period of time. So now what I've done is I've gone for a full blood panel just to rule out any medical things. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's good because it sits in the back of your head and you think, oh, I've got something wrong with me.
to make sure that it is really only stress and pressure.
Yeah.
Because if it is only stress and pressure, then all the other activities will work.
Yeah, exactly. But I learned something, and again, not that we should compare ourselves to machines, but in building this tech product with my business partners, whenever we do an update, I was always the dickhead that things wouldn't work. And I was like, why is this happening? And it got to the point because my cache always needed to be cleared. And now we just have this internal joke that if anything goes wrong, I'm going to clear my cache, which is obviously annoying yet funny. And it's a similar kind of thing. Like, because I go onto websites, I do kinds of things all day, every day. My computer just gets, I don't know if it's the cookies or all that kind of cuck, but you get weighed down by this kind of stuff.
Mm.
So if you have a shit day, like I know if I drive to work, I'm going to see 4 of those Daily Sun fucking headlines where it's like my uncle raped my pastor, or all this like
It's
really
it's very
terrible
depressing. And
negative
it-
bullshit.
and it pulls all the energy out of you. And there is such a thing as decision fatigue.
Yes.
Like your brain gets tired. It can only make so many rational decisions in a given day because
And-
you only have enough energy to do, let's say, 40 decisions. And if you're spending 20 of those decisions, like Hanan's coins, if you're spending 20 of those decisions on what you're going to wear, you've
Or
only got 20 left.
Or how to avoid certain things, or not get upset about certain things.
Or to dodge your partner's like beating. That's not conducive to having a very productive day of decision making.
And isn't it a scientific fact that we can only hold 5 to 7 things in our cache at one time?
Yes.
Probably. I don't know. I could
Properly.
probably only hold 3.
Yeah, some people only 3.
Yeah.
But-
I would like to hold one. I would like to wake up one day with one plan. Leave me
Well-
alone. I'm doing this.
Some of the happiest people I know that do one, promise you, they do one thing a day.
But isn't it also like when you keep things like the same? So that's why routine is so important, that you wake up at 6 and you take a bath and you do this, because then it helps you later during the day to make these impulsive decisions, or like,
Yeah, it's like you're on automation for
Yeah.
most of the time. And then when you do need to kick your brain into gear to make the decisions,
Mm.
you've got that
Mm.
spare capacity.
But, it makes you sick too, because remember a couple of weeks ago, about a month or 2 ago, I had that stomach lining infection.
Yes.
And you
I
still
think I
went back
was-
to Cape Town.
Yeah, I did.
You drank the
Um,
water.
I think Cape Town is the problem. Hey?
No, Cape Town solved the problem this time. Give it some
Yes.
credit.
Give
I'm
it
not
some
a,
credit.
I'm not going to give Cape Town extra points for no good reason, but I think this is fair. Yeah, I remember you. So you were shitting yourself, and it was
Yes.
horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
But I think I was just susceptible.
Sorry.
I was just susceptible to infection.
Yeah.
Because my stress levels were.
But also,
probably
stress
too high.
kills your immunity.
All right, but
Makes you so susceptible to these little things, especially in winter now with colds.
you saying good idea? We should all do it at some point.
Yep.
Okay.
I recommend
So
it. It
there is
doesn't
a
mean
first-class endorsement from George.
it doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So while you've switched off, you're going to feel wonderful, utopia, and it doesn't mean when you come back, it's not going to kind of affect you still.
Yonder says, I had a similar thing last year when I was doing my health check. It was first 160/90 and then went the following day and it was 120/75. I was very stressed during the time. So, I mean, you got to check these things.
Yeah.
All right. I do want us to get to this email. I mean, this is why you came in early, George, and you're the only guy who can answer this. So somebody called Juliana got hold of us and she said she wants to know how to buy a car without being taken for a ride. She wants some insider tips on how to go about I know she's very clever, this Juliana. She wants some insider tips on how to go about doing it in a fiscally responsible way. So that's why you're here early this morning. Help Juliana, please.
So I mean, first of all, Juliana, the most important part, two most important parts of buying a car is one, that you get a car that's not going to leave you standing when you drive away with it. So if that's an overarching vision. The second is that you don't overpay for the car.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you take those two in mind, how do you navigate around those two principles? The first thing is, let's talk about price. So do the research on price beforehand. You can get an emotional attachment to a car when you go and visit the car, visit the dealership, because used cars are not commodities. There's only one unique Golf GTI with that mileage, and often people get emotionally attached to the car and they start to miss things. You miss noises, you miss imperfections in the bodywork, you miss imperfections in the paint. So the way to avoid that is take somebody with you that knows about cars.
Very good advice.
Visit the car.
Very good advice.
So little things like you can run your finger along the gap of all of the panels, and you'll believe it or not, the tip of your finger is very intuitive.
So you mean you'll pick up if there's a
change in the gap,
and that'll tell you that maybe the car's been in an accident or
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Open the doors of the car and the bonnet and the boot of the car, because quite often when a panel beater sprays a car, there is overspray. It's just something you can't avoid, because they can't take the entire car apart in order to spray it. They have to cover parts. And those little particles in the spray booth get into, you'll see on the hoses, there's a little bit of overspray on the bolt itself. If you see that, that's a sign that there could have been an accident.
So then you're dealing with a piece of shit.
Well, potentially, potentially it's been in an accident. And then ask for the history records of the car. If the dealer's got.
I've never done that. You have to do that.
Yes. Ask for the historical records, the service records. Quite often, a franchise dealer is not going to give you records of someone else's car, but the dealership you're buying from can get those records. So if you go to a franchise dealer and you say, I want to buy this car, can you give me the historical records? They're not going to pass that information on to you, but the dealer you're buying the car from can get it. So ask for the records of the car.
George, there's another question, like a follow-up here. I'd like to know, this is from another George. He says, morning, guys. I'd like to know, what does George take on these new Haval cars that have taken over the roads?
Taken them over.
They've taken them over. What do you think of Haval?
I think don't discount Haval. Does everybody remember Hyundai entering the country?
Yes, and we all made fun of them, and now they're everywhere.
Now it's a good car. It's got a good warranty.
Good value for money.
It's good value for money, and they last.
Yeah.
Everybody.
They're like the Toyotas of the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Toyotas in the 80s were they lasted. People like their Cressidas and their Corollas.
Great cars.
Everybody in their cat was driving a Hyundai Getz at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Leanne Moll, I think, still has one.
I think she still has. Yeah.
So
drives very badly, but that's because she can't see very well.
I think the Chinese market is going to bring the first affordable EV. This is just my own hunch. I've got no data to support this. I think that they're going to bring the first full battery electric affordable EV to South Africa at some point, if somebody else doesn't beat them. But I think that they're on the road to doing that. And Haval's a case in point. I mean, they've brought a car here that is affordable. It's got all the technology inside it. It drives well. I mean, the only criticism I have of the Haval is I drove the Haval, I think it was the Jolion, and I could hear the highway noise. through the panels of the car.
Mm.
So it doesn't have really good sound
Like a
insulation.
game vehicle.
So that's my only criticism of Evolve. Other than that, it's not a bad car. So, you know.
Well, this George says they've taken over the roads,
They
just
have.
taken it over.
Yeah.
And then Just Plain Jared says Haval and Cherry have exploded in South Africa.
And Suzuki.
And Suzuki, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a time when anything exploding was a Ford Cougar.
By the way, what do you call a cougar who's so old that you have to like point her in the direction of young men? A deaf leopard. By the way, this is a very serious question. Where are the cougars going now in Joburg since places like Billy the Bums doesn't exist anymore?
I think some of them are going back to actually being mothers.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
This could be good for parenting.
Probably good
all
for
right.
parenting, yeah.
Never. What lies in this day?
Some
They're
of them
on
are
the
offering
apps.
cuddles.
Let me tell you
They're on
something.
the apps.
They're on the apps, and
Oh, I
they're
see. St.
definitely
Peter's got them.
inviting people over, to Netflix and chill.
Well, the thing is, like Cougars and Midrand will always have the swinger parties. That'll never change.
Yes.
But I think some of them maybe have just gone back to motherhood.
Yes.
Never.
Circle of
that.
life, Simply Way. You are so unromantic.
Never. That.
But
I'm
she's
sorry,
right. She's right. They
Kardashian's
are on the
still showing
apps.
off her bum, and she's a mother of 4. So
No, but she's a prostitute. There's a big difference.
Cougar, prostitute,
Yeah.
different worlds.
Something so mean. to
George has
cougars.
nothing to add on this front. He thinks this is an appalling
Only
conversation.
cougar I know is a car.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Ancient Eater says they're at Hogshead. No. All right. It's beer time in Central Australia, bitches, says Mo Dollars. I reckon that's what
Central
most...
Australia. No one lives in Central
Central
Australia.
Australia. What do you do there?
That's nothing but
Mine
desert and
rock.
snakes.
Yeah, what are you doing? Hey, wait a second. We need to know more. Mo Dollars, if you're in Central Australia, it's always beer time. Only grands. That's apparently the
Yeah,
Only grand.
In fact, there was a TikTok that I saw of this granny who had retired, she's not doing much with her life. And she's like, I got interested, trying out some dark chocolate. So she created like a
the Bumsters.
an
The Bumsters in the Gambia.
OnlyFans thing, and in like her 70s, like a whole granny is now doing the things on the apps. That's where they're at. Just saying.
These cougars learn fast. They
Well,
adapt
Especially with
technologically.
technology being what it is now.
Oh.
It's,
Yeah,
like
it's
water
very
always
good.
goes to the lowest point, right?
Mm.
There's a lot of low points out there.
Let's just turn our attention back to something that involves George directly. These Havals, Carl says, are very thirsty. Cost like 18 Rand in fuel to just start the thing. Is that true? Are they quite thirsty?
So that's the only thing I've heard about Havals, because they're looking better, which is a big thing for cars. But people say, and the cherries as well, very fuel inefficient.
Yeah, I think that could be as a result of them being slightly underpowered. So you've got to really kind of push the car a little bit more to get the speed you want out of it. So because I mean they're big SUVs and they don't have the engines that some of the other big SUVs have. So that could be the reason, Carl, or just lighten your foot on the gas.
Yeah, but there's also the thing.
Probably drives badly.
So
I wouldn't blame the car straight away, Carl. It's probably you.
But I feel like the Chinese are getting all that sort of good carry-on press from Japan and Koreans before them.
That's true.
So it's like, it's a natural thing to say, like, oh, but everyone hated Toyota, Japanese, no, great. Oh, everyone hated Hyundai, the Koreans. But like, it doesn't always mean that they are just, the domino effect is going to be great for the Chinese because they're trying to do the same thing, but yet later in time. Or am I just being pessimistic here?
No, I don't think you're being pessimistic. I mean, it remains to be seen how
Yeah.
Evolve actually kind of turns out.
How does it evolve?
How's it evolve? I had to take a minute. It depends. It's anybody's guess. Don't underestimate the new entrants either. I think the current brands, when we did the EV buyers survey, the last one and the one before that, we've done 3 of them so far, it was very clear that consumers are becoming less brand loyal.
Yes.
As we move towards hybrids and electric vehicles. Brand counts less in their mind. So I don't think the established brand, let me put it to you this way. I think the established brands have to work a lot harder to come up against companies like Evolve.
Absolutely.
Laqueus James, what a name, says, I am on the current hunt for wheels. Notice the BAIC bike.
Mhm.
Are they? What is that? What is a bike?
That's the name of a car.
Oh,
Oh, well, we can't help you with that. He says, are they pricing in market penetration? Any insights on the brand? What do we know about bike?
So same as a Vol, new entrant, a lot of new dealerships starting up, and it's early days. So it remains to be seen what happens. I always say there's no bad car. Most of the cars today.
Come on, George. There's
have
some.
you seen a quid?
Yeah, but it's probably the previous owner.
Quid's great. Simply if walking was your prior thing.
There's generally no bad cars because most of the technology's been established. It's been 100 years that we've been building these things. So it's established.
What's this thing? That's a bad car. This is the bad car. That's a bad car, man. What the hell's that?
Car.
Oh, that's
the thing.
The cute.
Yeah. The quid. No.
Is that it?
No, it's called
It's
the cute.
basically
It's
that.
QUTE or whatever it is. You could buy that
Pauling.
brand new for like 50 grand.
If you were in an accident in that thing between two other normal
You've died.
cars,
You're gone. You seeing your
you're
makeup.
not. You're dead. You're liquid.
Yeah, but what if your prior thing was an Uber Eats motorbike? That's a step up.
Okay, fair enough.
There's levels to life, Gareth.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
exactly. So you're probably more protected in the Bajaj than
See that Bajaj, cute. That's what it's called.
Bajaj. Is that what that is?
then you would be on a
That's what it's
motorbike.
called.
Superior, do you want one?
No.
Okay, nobody wants one. Malusi Bulwana Barnard says, I traded in my Audi with zero regret. They took us for fools for too long. See, people are waking up to this stuff. This is why good to have George in here. One last question quickly, George. Do you know from Gijs why Ford pulled the EcoBoost Mustang from the local market, and will we be getting the new models at some stage?
I don't know, from Ford, but I would assume it was sales.
Oh, okay.
Because why would you pull a car like that out of a market? It's only because it's not selling.
Deepabana says, hey, George, any suggestions for my next step when my BMW motor plan ends?
Make more money.
Trade it before the motor plan ends. That's
Yeah.
the first thing.
There we go.
Because sometimes there's about a 3 to 5% price difference just because the car has a motor plan. So you're going to lose money if you drive it out of the motor plan.
I would
Is it
just
a
feel
good
that-
idea to
Carl says,
extend it?
Borch just lost all credibility. No bad cars. Are you also
Taking some of Ben's.
all right.
I've been labeled many things in the show over the years. This is probably the most
Is
inaccurate.
this egregious to you? This is over the line. All right. Very good. Well, what a week. I mean, we've had Glynis Breitenbach starring role in Parliament. We've come up with, must be 7 business ideas by
Easily.
now.
There are millionaires out there who's under the radar, listen to the show and go, oh, done it again.
Those guys are, this
But
is
it-
my
my team
university.
wants-
Right. We're the University of Entrepreneurs. Don't let anyone fool you.
Oh.
All right. Anything you want to add in there, George?
Yeah. So we dug up this kind of statistic, right? And seeing as you were talking about cougars earlier,
Hmm.
is it illegal to have sex in a car?
The answer should be no.
Well, it depends where you are.
Oh, Sapiwa's done it. Saw a look at her face straight away.
Well, if Mash was on the show this morning, he would be looking into cars to try and find people having sex. That's his thing. He goes and interferes with other people who are busy in their cars in parking lots.
Only cars.
Well, we don't know where else he interferes.
So in most countries and most states, and this is obviously a United States study, in most states and countries, it is not illegal. What makes it illegal is actually exposing yourself in a public place.
Oh,
That's what makes it
so
illegal.
if the balls or the vagina or the asshole actually push against the window and it's steamy and they make that would be
More than likely. More than likely. So it's not illegal. And, there's another law that makes it illegal.
what's that?
Black.
Oh, right. Okay. So in other words, you're perfectly entitled in most places. I mean, I wouldn't try this in Saudi Arabia,
No, probably not.
No.
Don't do that.
but I think South Africa, you could probably do whatever you want because the cop will come and I must get out now. You'll be like, here's $100. They'll be like, okay, have fun. South Africa, you could probably get away with it.
Yeah, you probably,
Listen, also, if you
It's
don't
just
have
embarrassing though.
if you don't have your own house, I mean, when I was just out of school, university, first couple of years after university, you don't have a place to go. So where else are you going to have sex? She lives with her parents. You live with your parents. You can't. What are you going to do?
now you wonder why people tint their windows so dark.
But this is
Right.
why they should always bring drive-ins back.
Is that a good place to?
Nah. Then
Well, I'm not saying it's a good place, but at least go under the auspices of I'm watching a movie.
Okay. So you can disguise it a little bit better. Okay. All right.
Netflix and chill.
There's the drive-ins. Another great business idea.
Why they're still valid? Yeah,
Bring them back.
There was one in Randburg here, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Sundowner or whatever. It's
Didn't they
called.
close it eventually because there was just so much semen?
No, and look, unfortunately, it was Crom. People would go there. And
Oh, it
like,
was Crom.
Yeah,
Crom. Always
Crom
Crom.
ruins all the romance.
Okay. Any other news that you have for us, George?
So the one thing I wanted to kind of very quickly, because there's a long list, I'm just going to pick some. So believe it or not, car companies are they don't know what to call their cars, and over the years they've called their cars funny things.
Okay, I've never. They come up with these stupid names. It's like these names mean nothing.
Yes. So we did some digging, and there was a company in 1898. They were in 1898 to 1918,
Mhm.
and their cars were called All Days and Onions.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a car called an onion than some of the names I see for
This
these
was
things.
also a time when women were called Gertrude.
Polita.
And then MGA Developments, also an American company, took a Ford Fiesta, modified it, not modified it like, side of the road kind of thing, but called this car a hot dog. So if you Google MGA hot dog,
I'm going to right now.
you will see the car actually looks like a freaking hot dog.
Wow. Let's see. God, what a horrible car. What an absolute. You said just now there are no such thing as bad cars. George, I'm going to put this picture up. No one's going to believe it. It looks like something from an ad. I mean, was this in the 80s?
This was
70s.
in the, it was.
Oh my God, what a car. Let me just show you this picture. You're not going to believe this. If you're not watching us on YouTube, then you Google this yourself. It's just outrageous. Look at this horrible car.
Oh, that looks like fun.
That looks like a kiddie's car.
That's looks like someone who gives tickles drives that.
Oh, stop it.
So they called it the hot dog, and then they actually painted it with this yellow mustard color
Yeah.
on purpose.
And it doesn't have
and
much
then
of
the
a
seats are
windscreen.
red. What for the tomato?
The sausage. The sausage. The
The
Vienna.
condiments inside, and then other cars that have kind of named after food: the Mitsubishi Pistachio, Nissan Cherry, Toyota Corona, and then Toyota named a
Toyota
car.
Corona.
Mhm. Our Toyota Corolla was actually the Toyota Corona.
Well, that was bad luck.
Sure.
It's
No,
really
see,
bad
that
luck.
won't come back in the
No.
market anytime soon.
No.
And then Toyota also called the car the Crown Royal, which is a whiskey.
Congo says that this hot dog car looks like Ben's shoes. It does actually. All right, I think we've come full circle, everybody. We can call it a day after an extraordinarily productive morning, full of ideas, full of new business
go.
opportunities,
Business opportunity. Make a car, call it a food name.
detoxing technologically from George. I mean, what a win!
Look, we've also
Simpiwe with her stuff about the being able to find what's the stuff called cuddles online,
cuddle prostitutes. Look,
cuddle prostitutes.
I've just got to throw out. I've had many comments here to talk about UFC. We'll talk about UFC next week.
Okay.
See, Gareth, people want to know.
People have got to know, Ben.
People got to know. There's
Right.
a lot happening there.
Okay.
I've
Right.
lost the dispense. Next week, I'm all in.
All right. So we're not going to miss anything in the interim. Okay. All of that and more. Make sure you're here next Friday for some more of this. And we're going to start charging for all these business ideas.
I just want 1%.
I think that's
I'll take
fair.
10.
Just the tip. All these things I'm in.
Right. Okay. There we go.
Well, those people make all of the money.
Yeah.
Those people that manage other people's money because they take 1 to 2%.
Okay. Well, you know what? All we
No.
want is
10%.
no. You you only came up with the cuddle one. All right.
Which is a great one, according to Ben.
Okay.
So 10%.
Yes, I said it's a good business. I didn't say I want it. I didn't say I'm a customer.
All right.
The
Okay.
problem is your product is human.
Let's just be clear. 1% each to the four of us. The rest, the other 96% is yours. If
We
you
should
make
have
it.
like, you're like honesty bar. If you go out there and use our business ideas,
Just,
make
yeah.
millions, honesty,
Just come back and give us our check. That's all.
we should put a
Surprise us.
PayPal or Patreon together.
I'm thinking this is getting complicated. Just give us a check.
Just come
If
around.
you suddenly end up really rolling in the money because of one of the ideas you've had from this show, just do the right thing. Honesty bar vibes. I like that very much. All right. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.